All right, fellas, what's going on? Denonu here, the man with the biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube. And in this video here, we're just going to be talking about Destiny. And I just wanted to I wanted to make a video talking about it. I mean, because I have certain feelings about Destiny 2. And I just want to get it out there. Well, I've gotten my feelings out there several times on Destiny 2, but but we're gonna do another video since I finally got my hands on the game. And it's one of those things where, number one, at least with Destiny 2, I'm somebody who I didn't like part 1. I played it. I bought it twice. I played it. I played it for probably most of its life cycle. I think I played up until the last DLC content drop for it. I forget what it was called, but I think the last thing I remember doing was House of Wolves. So I'm not somebody who like, oh, I played Destiny for a little bit but didn't like it and never played it. No, I played Destiny. I had 3 characters, ran with a buddy of mine. I bought him the game and we played it. You know, I played all the way until the House of Wolves. He stopped like about whatever the DLC was before Taking King. I think he stopped with that, but I continued to play it. So I like Destiny for what it is. You know, did I get screwed out of my money? Fuck yes. Did Bungie straight up lie and Activision kick out like a bullshit game? Yes. You know, I'm not gonna get on here and lie, YouTube. Like no, they fucking, you know, stole everybody's money with Destiny 1. So when Destiny 2 came around, I'm not one of those channels, or I'm not one of those people who like, oh, Destiny was a super great game. I loved it. It's the greatest things out there. That's not me. You know, I'm not gonna, you know, just because I make a YouTube channel and put up content, I'm not gonna sit here and lie about the games I play and how I feel about them. I probably have more pride than most. So that's why I don't hold myself back when it comes to my videos and things like that. So when Destiny 2 came around, you know, I know they wasn't getting my money just based on how I felt off of part 1, right? So I was like, well, let me give it 2 weeks, or maybe like a week, maybe 2, and I'll see what other people do first. I'll watch a whole Let's Play of the campaign, things like that. I'll see what's going on with it. Then if I decide it's worth my money, I'll buy it. And that's what I essentially did. Like, number one, I don't think it's worth $60, not by any stretch of the means. I haven't played all the way through the game so far, but that's why I said this is just the first impressions. But I played, I want to say, until the first patrol area, and I'm just talking about story. Excuse me. I'm just talking about story. I haven't played anything else. I haven't played multiplayer. I haven't played none of the extra content, you know. That's why I said this is a first impressions and not, you know, an ongoing review of the game. I'm probably going to do one of those later after I play all of that stuff. But as far as right now, this is just my first impressions of what I'm feeling from the story, from the content so far. And from the story-based content, it's not worth it. I thought that when they were going to make Destiny 2, that they were going to do a complete 180 from Destiny 1. And what I mean by that is Destiny 1 didn't really have a story. Hell, you barely had a premise. It was just, oh, okay, here's who you are. Here's what, you know, you do, and that's it. No bad guys, no ongoing story, no plot, no twists and turns, no character development, nothing, YouTube. It was just as bare bones as you can get. Except, well, no, I'm not gonna say as bare bones as you can get, because they tried to bullshit that shit in Titanfall 1 and try to call that a story, so it wasn't that bad. You know, but Destiny 1 didn't have no story at the end of the day. For me, as, you know, somebody, I've been playing games since like, I mean, I guess if you want to take it back as far, like I've been playing games since Ghostbusters 1 and Rad Racer, Zelda, and Super Mario for like the, you know, for the regular Nintendo. That's as far back as I go playing games. So to me, story is like, you know, everybody has the one thing that they play video games for. You know, story is my thing. Like number one in a game is story. I have to get connected with the, you know, the game I'm playing. I have to It has to put me in the world. That's why I bought into the promise of Destiny. You know, I was a huge fan of Bungie in general because I liked all of their games. I loved Halo, although I think Halo is kind of them retreading the same ground 3 times as far as story goes. But even before that, they made, or I don't know if it was the part of Bungie that made Halo, but I know part of Bungie made Oni. I don't know, a lot of people probably won't remember that game because they know Bungie for making Halo. I didn't play their other game that they came out with before. I think, was it called Marathon? I didn't play that, but I know of that, and I played Oni, and I loved Oni. Oni had a lot of, you know, story when it came to that. It was like an anime Ghost in the Shell inspired type game with fighting and stuff in it, so that was pretty cool. But with Destiny 2, I was expecting them to be like, all right, well, since Destiny 1, you know, didn't have no story and it got a lot of flack because of that, I'm like, okay, you had, what, how long's Destiny been on? What, 3 years? Something like that. You had like 3 years to make a game. So I'm thinking like, okay, you know, they're going to put out that Mass Effect right now. You know, they're going to come out with Destiny 2 and it's going to have as much story content as like Mass Effect. That's what I was hoping. You know, for them to have, I mean, I'm not saying you have to be as long as Mass Effect, but that's how I thought they were going to take the story. You know, put a story in your game. You know what I'm saying? But from what I'm seeing off of like the first, you know, couple missions, I'm not seeing that, YouTube. Like, I don't know what they put the time into. I mean, maybe it suddenly does a 180 3 missions in. I don't know, but I'm just not seeing it. Like, yeah, you introduced cutscenes in your game. Okay, fine. That's cool. You know, that should be in there. Like, they showed you who the main bad guy was, but it's almost like, and I don't know, maybe it's just me. Like, I had a conversation before I sat down and actually bought the game. I had a conversation with Jolly. I think his channel is the Jolly Mage. I posted in the description below. I was on Skype with him, and I was telling him, and he was telling me, don't buy that shit, man. And I was like, yeah, you know. And at first I wasn't going to, but buying games for me is easy. You know, I have a decent job. I don't have a lot of responsibilities. I can buy any game I want, YouTube. It's that simple. I'm not somebody who has to weigh his options between like, well, if I get this game, I can't get this one. That's not me. I can get any game I want on any platform I want. I mean, it is what it is. So buying the game's not going to hurt me any, you know, this month. So as me and him was having a conversation about it, I was telling him like, yeah, I don't really buy the game. I don't think it's worth my money, but I'm looking at the shooters that's about to come out in the next couple months, and I'm not feeling them either. You know, it's like you got the new Call of Duty that's about to come out. I'm not a fan of World War I and II and that old time type stuff. I'm not a fan of that. I like modern day weaponry. I like scopes, assault rifles, sniper rifles, modern day tactical weaponry. You know, that's my shit. You know, so I'm not gonna get Call of Duty, World War, whatever they call it. You know, I had Battlefield 1. Played it for like about a couple weeks, put it down, never played it again, deleted it from my PlayStation for that same exact reason. Yeah, like it was fun, but it's just not what I'm into. You know, I don't like the theme of the game. Trying to think, and you have a few other games that's dropping this fall, but as far as shooter wise, I'm not interested in none of them. You know, so I probably won't get them. At least Destiny, I'm a huge fan of sci-fi. I like the world that Bungie set up in Destiny. My problem with that is they don't do shit with it. You know, they could have that Mass Effect type storyline where you and your guardian has to save the universe or save the humans in the galaxy and stuff, but they don't do shit. Like, I don't know if it's because Bungie has bad writers. Maybe that's the case. Maybe the person they hired just can't write a good story. Maybe the Bungie people themselves, outside of the writers, maybe they don't know how to adapt a good story to a video game. It could be that too. Because like I said, even with Halo to me felt like it was retreading the same ground 3 times. It was good, don't get me wrong, but Halo has more story than Destiny. It's almost like I don't know where the problem is, YouTube. I really don't. It's like I want to say it's the writers. I want to say it's Bungie. But at the same time, it could also be maybe, you know, and just like I was explaining to Jolly, I was like, yeah, maybe this is the state of gaming nowadays. Maybe the younger generation has bought into shitty games so much that they don't know a good game if it hit them. And that's just the state that the gaming industry is in. And the people who make the games, they know that. So they don't have to make a good game. They can just put out whatever and people are going to buy it. I mean, and that's what I told him. I was like, you know, I don't feel like the game is worth my money. Hell no. Fuck no. But, I mean, I need a shooter that I like, you know, to play. You know, number one. That's number one. Because I mean, I want to get my enjoyment factor out of it. And two, I mean, hell, I can say that, you know, a lot of games that's coming out in the past like year and a half, 2 years just isn't worth my money. Mass Effect Andromeda, shooter games that pump out content with microtransactions in it. You know, it's just there's a lot of games out there that I don't fuck with based on what they are. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that's just the industry nowadays. Maybe that's, you know, that's where we are. We haven't hit the bottom yet, but as far as making a game with substance, you know, right out the gate, maybe that's just not the mentality no more as far as the industry. I'm sure that that'll probably change, because I remember making a commentary talking about this like probably 2 years ago, where I was like, where it's like, if you play games and experience, or, you know, just like if you're a part of any community for years and years and years, like I've been a part of gaming, you know, like I said, since Nintendo. If you have that experience, I'm not saying that you're better than somebody else, but you can see trends because you know where the different companies, you know what they did before, so you can guesstimate where they're going to go again. So like I remember predicting 2 years ago, I was like, if more and more games come out and being shitty as shit and people keep buying them, you know, they're just going to keep pushing out the same kind of content over and over and over again because they don't have a reason to change. You know, if people just suddenly stop buying their games, and they're going to be like, okay, well, we either got to go out of business or we got to make a better product. Just like with any company. If you make a crappy product and people buy it, why should you make something better? You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like we're going to go through a period of shitty games. And I don't know how long that's going to last. It's going to be like maybe 2, maybe 3, 4, 5 years until those games either stop selling or the current generation grows up a little bit more and they want something more out of their games. Then they're going to start bitching and not buying and not pre-ordering certain games. And, you know, then we're going to start getting bigger and better games. So maybe Destiny 2, maybe considered by most, is going to probably be, oh, Destiny 2 is a good game. I'm seeing that all around. But to me personally, I have higher standards than that, YouTube. You know, I want every game I play to come out and be like the best product I've experienced. I don't like to settle. So when I pick up and play a game, I'm expecting this game to be good in my eyes. I'm not talking about, I don't expect every game to be like, oh, this is the greatest game I've ever played. You know, because I know that's unrealistic. It's not possible. You know, it's not possible. I'm more of a logical person, YouTube. It's like when I play a game, like I just want Destiny to have a competent story. From A to B, tell all the stereotypical story, you know, moments. Have a plot hole in there. Have some character development, some twists and turns along the way. Let's say have one of the, you know, have Commander Zavala or one of the other not raid people, but the Guardian leaders. You know, let's say, you know, do a story with them. Join their fire team and go take out what's his name, Gaul or whatever. Maybe, you know, maybe one of them sacrifices themselves so Gaul could die, and, you know, y'all move on from there. You know, do a stereotypical story, some kind of way. But that's not what I feel Destiny 2 has. I mean, story is not number one in their eyes. Hell, I don't even know what is. Because, I mean, everything else about the game is rehashed from part 1, so you got the same enemies, the same animations, the same characters, the same character model, so I don't know what the hell they was working on for the past 2 years. Music is on point, though. I will say that. Music is better. So whoever the composer was, comparison to part 1, yeah, he's a hell of a lot better. Let's see, what else is also better? Characters. They're a little bit better, too. You have the main characters in the cutscenes and stuff like that, the people from Destiny 1. They seem to be done a little bit better now. Their personalities are the same, but they seem a little bit more lively and, you know, less robotic, if you guys understand what I'm talking about. And the newer characters that you meet along the story mode, at least so far, I've only met 2 other people. the one chick who had the Falcon, and then there's this sniper guy that you meet in the next, couple story missions. And they seem to be a hell of a lot better. Like, I don't know the characterization as far as how they talk to you, things like that in the cutscenes, when you walk up to them and talk to them. It's not the voice acting. Well, I mean, I guess it is the voice acting because it's, they're technically talking to you. But when I mean voice acting, I mean, like, it's not like in Destiny 1. The delivery of the vocals wasn't bad. But the characterization, the movements, the mannerisms, the animations, the way that people talk to you, the mannerisms, comes across a hell of a lot better in Destiny 2 than Destiny 1. Maybe I'm using the wrong words. I don't know what's the right word to explain it, but when I talk to the new characters, I'm like, you know what? I like that character right there. It's like I have that, like the chick with the Falcon. When you first meet her, she makes a little joke about you, and then she's like, all right, bring your ass on. And even the pilot chick from part 1. And that's a good, that's a good thing to segue into that too. If you play Destiny 1, the woman who sold you ships, I think what's her name, Holloway, something like that. The way her character was in part 1, where she was a little bit more personable. She had a little bit of charisma to how she talked. That's how every side character talks in Destiny. And that's, I don't know how to explain that, but it makes the characters a whole lot better for it, So I'm hoping they continue that throughout the rest of the game. But like I said before, story is my biggest thing. Like, granted, they should have that as far as the characters to make people like them, but again, the story doesn't seem to be there. Like, yeah, they have cutscenes in between the missions, but at least so far from when I played, the story isn't, I'm not gonna say it's not traditional, but it's just it doesn't follow along. It's not a lot to it. It's there's no meat on its bones, YouTube. It's like it's almost as if Bungie, what they did was they rehashed Destiny entirely as far as what little bare bones premise that they had, and it feels like they just scrapped that idea, threw it out the window. The only thing that they kept was the tower and the Guardians, and what they did was they basically rebooted their own game, because instead of having, let's say, the darkness come out and try to kill you, now it's Gaul and what are they called? I forget the name of his species, but you have Gaul and then his people trying to come and attack you. So it's like they're retreading the same ground, except they have to destroy the tower. They have this whole segment after where you walk around with no guns, and it kind of takes you out of the environment. It kind of reminds me of how in Mass Effect 3 you had the dream sequences where he would walk around chasing this kid, and he would burst into flames and stuff. It reminds me of that. It kind of takes you out of the experience because you can't do nothing but walk. If they truly wanted to make the story better in the game, or to make the game better, they could have had like a mission in there where you had to, let's say, protect civilians, and you didn't have your powers, and you had to save people and take out certain enemies. They could have kept you down in there for a little bit and had that be like the first few missions of the game, and then you had to go out and, let's say, because the whole premise behind the first couple missions is like, oh, you don't have your light no more, you don't have your powers. If Bungie had any balls, make that the game. Your Guardian that you built up all throughout part 1 with these badass superpowers, you don't have none of that no more. So for the main story mission, story campaign, you're just a regular Joe Blow guy wearing some armor, carrying a gun. You're a fucking stormtrooper, and you can go in there and, let's say, throughout the story of the game, try to take down Gaul, and you and your fellow Guardians are like regular soldiers now. So now you're like an army and a military trying to take out this other guy. And let's say at the end of the story, you take him out, rescue the Traveler, and then at the end, by the time you hit level 20, you get your powers back, and that's where the multiplayer kicks in and all that. I think that would have been a better story, because then you're forced to work and you're forced to play through a game without your abilities, without your powers, and they could have made that a thing, but they didn't. But anyways, guys, this is rambling on far too long, but I just wanted to give my thoughts on my initial thoughts on Destiny. I'm probably going to do a review once I finish out the story. I'm going to probably make a video talking about that, And once I, you know, play into the rest of the content that's in the game, I'll probably make a video talking about that, and I'll probably also make videos talking about other things too on my Let's Play channel. So my name is Denonu, the man with the biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.